Hey, what's up? It's Amina Buddafly, and you're watching True Exclusives at Home. I don't even know why, but there's something about us. Every time we touch, I'm up on a cloud. I think I'm on a high. Whatever you're here by my side, I wanna let the world know about right now. I don't need to hear about what people say. Couldn't care less about the comments they make. Why don't we keep on without being judged, so no one can break what we got? 'Cause I don't need nothing. I got you loving. No, I don't need nothing. If I got you loving, yeah.
I grew up in Germany, which was, I guess, very different from the US. I'm biracial, so my dad's black, my mom is white. And growing up, I just remember that I never felt home. I never felt like, I always just felt different. I don't know if it was because I'm black. I don't know if it was because I just felt like I'm different than everybody else, but I had a hard time, even just liking myself, loving myself. That came later on in my 20s and even now 30s. I'm finally there, but it took a long time. But growing up in Germany was nice just because our parents are amazing. My mom is the best. She raised us fearless, which then later led us to just leave Germany and fearlessly attempt to just make a career in America. And which we did because, I moved to New York when I was 19 with my two sisters. And then it was a roller coaster ride. It was a long journey for us. It's almost like a movie now, thinking back to it. The stuff we went through, the stuff we experienced. We ended up getting signed to Def Jam in 2005, amongst young, new artists that nobody knew, such as Neo, Rihanna, Chris Brown. All of them were with us when we first started.
Will I see you?
Me and my sisters, we had just dropped our second single on Def Jam. And, our boss was L.A. Reid, who's the one that signed us, and I admire him forever to this day. I loved him then, and I knew that he was going to love me. Once I started singing, he was like, you sound like butter, and that's where the name Butterfly came from. But one time we were at the Def Jam offices, and somebody said, "Oh, Jay wants to see you," and I just was so confused because first of all, I was not sure who Jay is. I didn't know. They just said Jay. And as we were in the elevator going up, 2 floors up, I remember that 2 floors up is Rockefeller, and then I put two and two together, and it was Jay-Z that wanted to see us. And I was like, for what? We're not signed to Rockefeller. But then they were like, yeah, but this is, all the family. We're still all Def Jam. This is all one umbrella. So we just sat down with him. And I just remember that pep talk he gave us that day. He looked at our second video for Bad Girl featuring Fabulous, and he was vibing to it. But after the video turned off, he asked us, "So what do you think? How do you feel? Where you at with it?" And I was like, I was honest with him. And I remember answering him, and I just said, I'm not happy with any of it. I didn't like how I sounded on the song. I didn't like how I looked in the video. The video was a whole nother story. It was a nightmare, the way it came about and the way it was shot. And, so I really told him the truth, and I was like, I really don't like it. I'm not comfortable with it. And he just looked at me and said, "So then what are you doing? Why is it coming out?" And I said, because the bosses wanted to come out. And this is kind of that label world that people don't understand, the craziness that you deal with. You have to please everybody, make everybody happy. And I just wanted to make everybody happy at the time, so I wouldn't say much. But when he asked, I was honest. And he was like, "Yeah, you should not let it come out. You should not let them mix and master it if you're not happy." And then something clicked in me because I tried to speak up so many times, but every time you would get shut down. You know, when you're a new artist, it's like all these people that have done it for so many years. You feel like you can't say anything. You gotta just let them lead the way. But you kind of opened my eyes that me as an artist, I'm the one that's gonna be on stage. I'm the one that's like, you know, it's all on me. Like this is my song. This is me gonna be on stage singing it. I'm gonna have to listen to it on the radio forever. So you do need to speak up, and this is why I feel like I got my whole attitude from. Like that meeting definitely contribute to me having this attitude of not wanting to listen. Because I always remember that in my head when somebody tries to tell me you gotta do things a certain way, and then I'm like, no, actually, no, I don't want to. I really think about that meeting with Jay-Z. I always do. And maybe he didn't mean it that way and that stubborn, because I really can't be stubborn. But I really remember that he said, you got to be a little bit more like Kanye. And at the time, Kanye was not even close to what he is now as far as like cockiness. And so, yeah, it was interesting. But I always to this day remember Jay-Z telling me, you got to stand up for yourself and only put out what you absolutely love. And I'm thankful for that, you know.
I can be the girl who claims that she don't want it, let go then I want it back. And you the type of man, you put it down, let me have a taste and disappear too bad. Cause I got something for you tonight that'll make you feel just alright. You don't wanna miss out, no, I promise just come by my place. Meet me after dark, look me in my face, start kissing on me till I am ready. Make out on the floor, throw me on the bed. How to be the best that you ever had. Meet me after dark, 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 dark. 'Cause I can make it up. Oh.
I met this guy named Peter Guns in 2010. Um, at the time, I was working at a nightclub in New York at the Village Underground. I was a singer in a band, and I would work 4 nights a week. And he was a regular at this club. He would be there night in, night out, every night. He would be there. So everybody knew Peter. He would just hang out, be this womanizer that he is, always come with different women. He would just be, you know, everybody just knew Peter as a regular at the club. So for the first couple of years, I wouldn't even like look at him. I was just like hi and bye. Also because I had a boyfriend at the time, but I met him there, and then later, after a couple of years, you know, my boyfriend at the time started befriending him more and hanging out with him more, and so did I, because I was a girl. So we would hang out together. Um, you know, me, my boyfriend Peter, and his whoever he was with that day, because he was always with somebody else. But long story short, later on, I broke up. My boyfriend broke up with me, which led to me being heartbroken and kind of turning to my friend who Peter had become. He had become my friend. And so that's how me and Peter started. But Love and Hip Hop started about 6 months after me and Peter started dating. Just by chance, because he was cool with some of the producers and they were interested in him and his storyline. You know, he was friends with Rich Dollars. And so it kind of just, they started to talk. And as soon as the producers found out about Peter being married to me, and still having another girlfriend, they wanted us on the show, and I said yes. That's how it happened.
Since you've been gone, I've been a wreck, such a hopeless one. Won't you come back so I can live on and on?
It's like we all, as women, I mean, so many of us are stuck, and I call it stuck, and I actually at the time called it an addiction, because it was literally like I was addicted to a person, and I needed help. I needed therapy, rehab, whatever you want to call it, like when you are on a drug. That's how it was for me. And that's how I explained it in my book too. My book, The Other Woman, is where I explain why I kept going back. And because every time there were little scenarios that, that held you from, you knew in your mind, I knew my words. I knew that this wasn't healthy. I knew all of the things that people thought I didn't and that made them think I'm stupid. I knew all of the things, but yet I just needed help. I literally was like, there was days towards the end when I was really like broken. It was like, I would like just like look for, like, I couldn't ask anybody for help because all my friends and everybody that loves me, they can't help, like, because they're not there when I'm alone at night, and my husband is not coming home, and like they're not there when I'm by myself, and um, you're really in that moment, you're really alone, and you have to make that decision on your own, and you have to get to that point alone. But at the same time, I wished I would have had assistance in how to. I wish I would have had help and somebody telling me how to let go, how to do all that, moving on and all that, because all they ever do is say, you got to move on, you got to let go, you got to, but they don't tell you how. So it's literally like you need a therapy. You need therapy, and I did. I needed that even when I did the big step, moving from New York to LA, because I knew it wasn't right. I packed up and I left. I found the strength somehow, by having been beaten down so much. I found the strength to pack up and leave. But then when I got to LA and I was pregnant and I had a 1 year old and I was alone, I really had to go and find a therapist to not like go back, and like it's really difficult. Like love is it's crazy. It's a funny thing. I mean, not really funny, but it's just when I think about it now, I say funny just because I'm all over it, and it's like, yo, like I've been in love so many times, but every time I feel like in my life, in my situations, it had been every time it gets harder to leave. So, and I've never been good at leaving a person. Period. I never knew how to do it. Every situation, every relationship that I've been in my life, I got left. So I did never learn how to leave someone. So that was another thing I needed help with. And that's why I'm proud of myself, because at the end of the day, with this situation, my husband, Peter, who everybody saw me with on Love and Hip Hop, I actually left and I made it. I made it happen. I left. I got up and left. So I'm like really proud of it. Like thinking back now, I'm like, wow, I did it for the first time in my life.
It won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. Give me a kiss.
I have to say, and I tell this every new mom, like having a newborn I have been the happiest. And I remember my mom telling me that when she had us, um, when waking up and having a newborn, it gives you a new whole outlook on life. Like I would wake up every morning looking at my babies and just all the being down and being low and sadness would just vanish, literally vanish when I looked at my kids. And I would get up, make them, feed them, and put music on a beat, like be in a happy spirit. And I literally have to say my kids gave me that. Like they gave me that, so I'm able to do that. And of course, it gets overwhelming. Like as they're growing older, it's a lot of work. It's like it gets so crazy that sometimes you're just like, I can't no more. It's like too much, and I need help. I say it all the time, but I still have to think my kids are the reasons why I almost never feel depressed anymore. And I went through a lot of phases of depression in my life, even as a teenager. Before I had kids, I was way more down because you just don't have time for it. And like literally, like when I wake up, even if for a moment, if I wake up and I want to fall into this, I'm not feeling it. I want to fall into this low. There's no time for it. I got stuff to do. I got to get up. I got to make the food. It's like literally like your mind is not able to fall down. And that's how it is for me. So my kids have given me have pulled me out of a lot of low times. And this actually also, many people have asked me what was the breaking point with, my husband when I left. And it was my daughter too. It was my 1-year-old that I had at the time I was pregnant. And when she saw me so broken and crying, and she was one, she couldn't even speak, but she would come to me and with her hand wipe my tears. And I was like, okay, she is telling me, Mommy, we have to go. And I felt that, and I could sense that, and I was like, damn, it's always making me cry now. It's like, it's in my book, The Other Woman. So I can't read that book without getting emotional because it's like so real. And that was my breaking point. That was when I called the moving company and arranged the moving from to LA. When my daughter, like 1-year-old, like it's crazy. She literally like consoled me in that time. Yeah.
So don't you waste my time, boy, I'm turning up all night. I'm about to make it happen here. All my ladies fly, and we poppin' bottles high. Feeling good and don't treat. Drinks on me, drinks on me. Won't be getting no sleep. Drinks on me, drinks on me, yeah. And I get on the DJ, play my song, drop the Cardi B shit on the walls, and the tunes of rose start spinning up. I sit back and watch them pour my cup. My phone keeps buzzing, it's banging, he cussing, don't know what he talking about. Watch how I put it on for now. Stressing me, always stress me out. I can't do this, I'm lit right now. Hey, so don't you waste my time. I'm turning up all night.
As far as my music goes, I'm so over trying to get people stop people from sleeping on me. I'm like, whoever doesn't fuck with me, or like whoever doesn't get with like or get who I am as an artist, or things, or whoever doesn't get my music or doesn't support it, it's their loss. I really think like that about not just my music, but in any way in my life. But as far as my music, I definitely have grown so much. I have a much bigger audience, which I'm glad. Like that's one of the positive things that came from the show. A lot of more people are checking for my music, are listening it, are streaming it, a lot more than before. So that's one of the good things. But it's still, of course, I'm still in that box of reality star because I've not had a charting hit record. And until that happens, I'll always be in that box because that's what gave me the most exposures to date. And I'm not mad at it, and I can't be mad at it because I chose to go on it. So when you Google me, it's all loving hip hop. So I mean, I'm not mad at it because I still at the end of the day know who I am as an artist, and that's where I started. And whoever doesn't take me serious because I was on Love and Hip Hop, that alone is not a fan that I want to have. I want to have a fan that understands that the music is the music. Like Beyonce said in an interview not recently, this is like earlier, like before she had the twins. I have this clip saved because I was going to post it, but she was saying like back in the day, like when Nina Simone was singing, it was about the boys. Nowadays, it's about the life and what kind of mother I am. And it all plays part of whether you like my music or not, and it shouldn't, but it does. And she said it the same way.
There's a place in your heart, and I know that it is love. And this place could be much brighter than tomorrow. And if you really try, you'll find that there's no need to cry. In this place, you'll feel there's no hurt or sorrow. There are ways to get there if you care enough for the living. Make a little space, make a better place.
Music-wise, I just want my fan base to grow times 10 at least, if not times 50. I would love my fan base to just grow so I can finally go on my tour, to do a tour. Also, I'm speaking into existence that I'm going to meet my next husband, and me and my kids can live in a beautiful house. We will stay in California for a little bit longer. I'm not saying forever, but I love it here, and I want to stay for a little bit more, and enjoy this time. Have them, grow up a little bit, and just have that family vibes going on instead of just me and the two girls. I'm speaking that into existence for the next year. So, new husband and fan base growth is what I wish for.